Hello, everyone. My name is always Asmal. Welcome to another episode of Tooways to Skin a Cat, a show where we talk career experiences, entrepreneurship, and investments. The main aim is to show that there's more than one way to be successful other than climbing the corporate ladder. We are live on LinkedIn and YouTube. A reminder that the show will also be on podcast tomorrow morning. So if you are joining us live, please drop a one in the comments so that we know we're not talking to ourselves. And if you're watching a recording, drop a two in the comments. My guest for this week is Tshego Modise, Head of Business Development at Aeon Investment Management. She holds a postgrad in investment planning from the University of Free State as well. Tshego, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, always, for having me on your platform. It's such an honor, especially having worked with you at Aeon Investment Management when you were the Chief Operating Officer. And it's so wonderful to see the leaps and bounds you've made since then. Yes. And thank you to our audience. Yay.
So to jump straight into questions, tell us your story. Where do you come from? And outside of work, who is Tshego Modise? Give us that backstory.
Okay, that's a very long story, but I'll try and keep it short, just a couple of paragraphs. Hello, everybody. My name is Tshego. It's short for my full name, Retshego. I am Tswana, which means we are blessed. I come from the humble but awesome place called Bloemfontein in the Free State. I am a Free State girl and actually also grew up on a farm, which is weird now that I say it now again. And I actually studied at the University of the Free State. I actually also went to school in Bloemfontein as well. And so I'm born, bred, raised, everything in Bloemfontein. So me coming to Aeon Investment Management, this side in Cape Town, was my first, sort of me stepping out of the Free State and Bloemfontein. In terms of my academic background, I studied a Bachelor of Accounting at the University of the Free State. And interestingly, I actually started out thinking that I wanted to be a CA, jumped straight into the course. Third year, butchered me. And I was like, wow, I can't. But I managed to complete. And when I completed, I remember everybody asking, so do you want to do honors, the CTA? And I was like, I don't like auditing. I don't think I have nothing that will sustain me through the pain. So I prefer not to. And basically who I am is I grew up, as I said, on the Free State on a farm, and both my parents are teachers. So I loved reading. I'm really big on education, and I'm a proper bookworm. My idea of lunch is going to exclusive books or bargain books and looking and scouting for a book to read. I have a pile of 60 books I'm yet to read since last year purchasing. And also, what am I about? I like all things that have to do with purpose, vision, personal development. Highly active, for instance, in my faith. I'm Christian and I love being part of my church community, meeting new people. But something else that I cultivated when I was very young is that I'm passionate about business, but I'm also passionate about entrepreneurship. So I think what people see on my LinkedIn profile is that I have had a business that I started with a couple of friends, and they were students as well, while we were students back in university, and it was called Genesis Africa. And what we did is we started a business where we would hire artisans to do home improvements, because we picked up that there was an opportunity in especially the black market, not black bad market as in black people bad market, in terms of home improvements. And we would hire the artisans that would go and do the home improvements, and then we just tried to professionalize that service. And that was a great learning experience for me. And that also gave me the conviction when I was completing my studies that is the direction of my career, to be part of business development, but also business leadership. And yeah, that's basically it.
No, that's great. But so when I go through your LinkedIn profile, and it says head of business development at an asset management company. So that sounds like a serious title with a lot of responsibility. Mm-hmm. So what advice do you have for young professionals who want to move into the investment industry?
Well, there's a long list that I would like to give, but it always has to linger from, it has to emanate from, what is your ideal career growth or goal, right? I find a lot of people sending me emails sometimes, even via LinkedIn itself, just asking me about my journey and what advice I would give to them. And I always say, what have you identified as the impact that you want to make as a young professional? Let's start there, and then identify whether this industry is the right industry for you. The reason I'm pinning it first to identifying who you are is that I've seen, having sat in some, recruitment processes for Aeon Investment Management, is I've seen people come with like the best marks in terms of their accounting degrees or undergrad and honors. But then when you ask them about what are their views on what's happening in the markets and stuff, they are passionateless, they don't know anything. And then you ask yourself, you've gone through this process of doing the hard work, studying, but you haven't even identified how it fits in with the bigger purpose of who you are. So let's first start with, who am I? What are my interests? What kind of impact do I want to bring into the professional space? And then select the sector or the job profile that you want to work in. As I said, as I alluded, I grew up being very passionate about entrepreneurship. So things that revolve around people, like meeting new people, pitching, bringing an idea to the market, marketing, those are things that I'm very passionate about. So when I stepped into the business development role, hey guys, Tooways is actually the one who recruited me, is that what happened is I came in already in love with that aspect. So when I was growing into the industry, as I am now in asset management, I grew in already in line with my strengths, my passion, and my purpose. So that's my advice. Yeah.
I like what you said there. Basically, like self-awareness is key. Understanding what you like and what you're good at. Not just chasing the money, because the money is never going to make you happy if you're in something that you don't enjoy.
No.
But moving on a little bit. So in business development, you do a lot of prospecting, but you also meet a lot of senior leaders and influential people who manage hundreds of billions on behalf of pension funds. How do you stand in your power and show your abilities when being in meetings with people such as these?
I'm going to actually offer a different answer, in the sense of, I had to learn that I'm there to serve in the same way they are there to serve. There is a value that each one of us contributes and brings to the table. And yes, I have been in boardrooms and meetings where I've just felt, oh my gosh, my title is literally like this little, and my impact is literally this little. But I've also learned the importance of, they are there to serve the purpose to which they have to serve for their fund and their role. And I'm there to serve the purpose for which I'm there to serve for my employer, as well as the clients in whom we represent. And that, going into every meeting with that type of perspective, a service perspective, has helped me not to make myself feel small or feel that my contribution is insignificant, or even have an ego trip, or if that makes sense, which can happen in this industry. Yeah.
I mean, I like that. That's a great answer. You summed it up from both sides. A reminder, if you have any questions for Tshego, please put them in the comments now. We'll deal with the questions towards the end, but just to make sure that we don't miss them, please include them now. So you moved a little bit from a financial planning role a few years ago, where your target customers were your consumers and your high net worth individuals or your wealthy customers, to asset management, where your target customer is asset owners and pension funds. So from like a B2C to a B2B, what made you decide to make that switch?
I will actually link it to when I was in my studies. When I was completing my BAc degree, what had happened is, in 2011, I'd actually failed my third year. And this was me believing that I was going to be a CA, but finding third year like brutalized me. And I was like, okay, what are we going to do? And what happened is, I sort of fasted for like 3 days in December that year after receiving my results, and just feeling, this is the first time I have failed. Like, failure for me was a very foreign concept. And I think a lot of people, especially who are doing that degree, have mentioned that I never failed until I got into this degree and I failed. And I had to come to a moment of truth. Tshego, what are you going to do with your life? Like, I had figured it out. I'm going to be a CA, and that's the only way. And part of my process was that I prayed. I prayed to God, and I said, God, like, what is my life going to be about? What am I going to achieve and do? And one of the key things that came out of that prayer session was that, and that fast, was what I felt was like my life vision, and my life vision was basically linked to the fact that I will be part of the business world. I will use my financial resources for empowering people, as well as paying directly back into God's kingdom. But one of the key things is I saw him show me investment world. And at the time, I had not really had a desire to be in the investment world. And what I used to remember in my year when I was at the University of the Free State, if you were in the CA, the BA class CA route, there was a lot of focus on auditing. So you never really learned about what a CA does outside of pursuing the auditing path. So I was very ignorant in that sense of what is potential in terms of investment management, the private sector, what can be offered. And what ended up happening for me at the time is that I had friends who were in the, investment management side, investment studies, and some were pursuing CFA even. And they all of a sudden in the next year, 2012, that's when we launched Genesis Africa. Genesis Africa was doing very well. And some of my friends were saying, you seem to really love business and investments as well. Why don't you try go that route? And I was like, I never considered that, but when I joined Sanlam Personal Finance, I joined as a financial planner. And what I found is while I was doing financial planning is that I actually enjoyed more the investment aspect of the business, of my clients' portfolios, than I did the other aspects. And that just drove a passion in me that, okay, this is a direction I want to pursue. But if anybody here is from Bloemfontein and knows Bloemfontein does not have an asset management sector or industry at all. So my only hopes would have been Johannesburg or Cape Town. And what happened is I ended up ironically getting a job at PPS Investments in Bloemfontein, which ended up getting me sent to Cape Town a few months later. As while I was in Cape Town, I met Tooways at a networking event at APSIP, hosted by APSIP, and chatting from there. That's how I landed into basically institutional B2B. Yes, and that's the shortened version of how I moved in.
So you touched on it a little bit about how you moved from Bloemfontein to Cape Town, but why a lot of young professionals, especially if they come from Bloemfontein or Durban or something, they have to make this decision: do I go to Joburg or do I go to Cape Town? Most people go to Joburg generally. So what made you decide, okay, let me try Cape Town out, not necessarily Joburg?
Okay, I don't know. I know this will be on LinkedIn, right? So I have to be honest, and at the same time, actually what got me to Cape Town was that my church the year before, in 2016, had a prayer fasting event. And what ended up happening is that after the prayer and fasting, I was sitting in a home style group, which is similar to a life study group. And one of my friends, I think she might be watching as well, her name is Evodia. And what Evodia had done is that she asked a question. She said, what do you think God is telling you? What's next? And I literally blurted out in that meeting, I'm moving to Cape Town. And literally a year later, I had moved to Cape Town. So for me, to be honest, it was a faith decision more than a strategic career move. But why did I stay in Cape Town? I think that was also very relevant, considering there has been articles like Adiniko Ngema who spoke about why she moved from Cape Town to Johannesburg. Is that yes, there are issues around our industry in terms of going higher in terms of roles and opportunities, especially as a Black professional, investment professional in our industry. But what I found is I felt that I could stand out more in Cape Town than I could in Johannesburg. In Johannesburg, as much as it offers greater opportunities for career advancement, I felt that sticking it out here in Cape Town would not only broaden my networks, but it would also enable me to stand out in a city that is known not really great at retaining its Black investment professionals.
Okay, no, that's great. That makes a lot of sense. And so, I mean, based on how I know you, and even just from this discussion, people will say you're definitely a natural extrovert and a bit of a people's person. So those of us who are maybe a little bit more, who have a bit more introvert tendencies, what advice do you have to if they wanted to move into, say, a client-facing role? Maybe not all the way business development, but halfway. Any tips, or what do you think?
Client-facing roles, it is true. There's a lot of, this communicating, presenting, interacting. But what I would give as a guideline is that first, remember, you're there to serve the client. The client is more interested in your output than how well you bedazzle them with your personality. And that has also been a key focus in how I do what the work we do here at Aeon Investment Management is have a client focus that is so excellent that it speaks for you even before you even meet the client. I mean, we have a policy here in the business that you review an email a few times before you send it, even if it's a simple response, in the sense of even an email speaks on your behalf, right? And I find that we sometimes as an industry use, what is the word? How well a person speaks to denote how excellent they are, and that is actually a very incorrect assessment. So if there's anyone here who wants to be in the business development side or more client facing, my advice would be to remember you're first there to serve the client, so serve excellently. And then once your excellence has spoken, they won't care how extrovert or not extrovert you are. They will just respect you, and that is what you ultimately want more of.
And as long as you deliver, and I like that. I like that. So I was looking at your LinkedIn profile a little bit before we came online, and it states this is a primary role, head of business development. Then at the bottom it says there's a secondary role, which is a growth area, and it goes into a few other details. Talk to me a little bit about that, because that seems a little bit different to what we talked about for the last few minutes.
Okay, this is now where I do my big debut. So what is happening is that for the past 18 months, I have been more of on a succession planning journey with my boss, Asif Mohammed, who's also the founder of Aeon Investment Management. And he's going to be handing over the reins of CEO to me. So currently,
wow.
my silent title is thank you very much, Tooways. You've been part of this journey, and I appreciate you as well. So what I also write next to my name is, for instance, my email signature is Head of Business Development and CEO Designate. We have started communicating this to all our clients since last year, July, because that's when the decision was made more official by the board. And now I will now be CEO Designate, CEO effective from the 1st of July 2021. So an announcement will be made.
Okay, so we early, so we've got the announcement sooner. You heard it first, yeah, lovely.
Yes, Tooways to skin a cat. Awesome, so glad.
Let me just have a quick look if there's any. So there doesn't look to be too many questions. There's just people who haven't seen you in a long time who are very keen to the fact and very appreciative of the advice that you've given. So it doesn't look like there's any questions. Are there any last words from your side or anything that we didn't discuss that you'd like the audience to know?
Okay, so from my perspective, thank you so much, first of all, Tooways. I'm so glad when I got the invitation, because I've seen the caliber of people that you've been interviewing, and you have made such great strides yourself. And it's really inspiring to see how you have become such a multidisciplinary professional. And I think that's the direction that the industry is going to take. Financial services and other industries. And that is actually a key point of what I would like to be one of my key giveaways or key insights to young professionals who are watching, those even outside of the asset management business, is that the time has come for young professionals, young professionals to just step out of just advancing their careers, but also asking themselves how they can be of service to the greater South African community. I mean, what is the beautiful thing about us is that we have all the skill set and this know-how, but how do we translate the skill set and this know-how over and beyond just our immediate employers and also our immediate families? Is that we need to start finding places to serve. I think we all are very aware of what is currently happening in our country, and we're actually all very aware of what needs to be done in order to change things. And one of the important aspects myself, I'm trying to remind myself, is what is the purpose of your job outside of Aeon Investment Management? My role coming up now as CEO would be also, how can I greater serve my not only my investor community, but the South African community, so that I live in an economy that is much better. I'm single, I don't have children, I'm not married. So whatever I'm thinking is that I want to leave a legacy. but what I have to define that legacy. And a lot of that legacy is the impact towards education, entrepreneurship, as well as developing young people. So I believe that as young professionals, we need to find what are the legacies that we want to leave, because we have all the skill set and the know-how to sort of translate that into tangible difference for South Africa. Yeah, that's my key takeaway.
No, that's a brilliant summary. I mean, it's all about how can we. I mean, we all have a part to play in terms of reducing inequalities in this country. So you've summarized it brilliantly. Just a reminder to everyone that the show is live on YouTube and on the podcast. We'll be on the podcast tomorrow. If you're watching on YouTube or the podcast and you feel that the video has added value, please don't forget to like and subscribe so that you get automatically notified when the next one comes out. A reminder that our weekly discussion on Clubhouse about business and investing in South Africa is on a Monday at 5 every Monday. And let me know if you need an invite. For interest sake, the Android apps will be coming out in May, so we'll hold out for that. Tshego, thank you so much for your time. I sincerely appreciate it, and thank you for releasing that news.
No, thank you very much, Tooways, and I hope Ramadan is going well and keep going strong and winning. And this is a very important platform. It's giving valuable information, important interactions, and we can clearly see your growth as well. So thank you.
Thanks so much. And thank you everyone for joining for another episode of Tooways to Skin a Cat.